Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. We are here with an ongoing Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition campaign that has been going on for over 4 years now. Last month, we would have celebrated our 4th anniversary, birthday, I don't know, whatever the hell you want to call it. But we did not get the chance to play last month, so more's the pity. But we're going to celebrate it tonight by running a session. This is session 38. This is called Pocket Full of Posies. This is an Arthurian-themed campaign that also kind of works with some English and German kind of history and folklore kind of rolled in. It takes place in a homebrew world of mine known as Rostveen in the kingdom called Vykaril. So yeah, it has been a very sprawling story over these last 4 years, but very rewarding and full of really great moments with all of the characters that these players have brought. And yeah, I'm very pleased and very thankful to have the chance to run this game. So before we get started, I'm going to say the same warning that I say on the beginning of all of my games, and if that is, if bad language and mature subject matter are problems for you, then you should not watch this game. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff on YouTube. This wouldn't be for you. But if those things do not bother you, then welcome. Stay. Oh, an addendum to, not an addendum, another note on that, particularly these few episodes. We are in a land that is ravaged by a plague, and I know that is a timely subject for the world at the moment. So if that's the kind of thing that might get under your skin and bother you, then again, please heed this warning. But what else? Oh yes, the artists that you will see on display through parts of this game, the lovely Shieldhouses that you will see throughout the game, they were designed by an artist named Rachel Ayres. She was a wonderful artist to work with, and I highly recommend that you look her up if you want that kind of work done. In addition, I forget his name every single time. Augusto or Augustus? Augusto? Okay, Augusto. He designed the fantastic character art that you see for all of the player characters that are surrounding us here on our overlays. Also, tremendous work. That was commissioned by our patron, Steve. So thank you so much for that, Steve. Yeah, okay, I think that's all of the business before I pass things over to these fine folk so that they can introduce themselves, tell you where you may be able to find them on the internet and what they might have going on, and then I think we can get this started finally. So we're going to start with Eli.
Hello, everybody. I'm Eli, and I'm very excited to be back here. I was bummed to miss the last session, and so I'm stoked to find that I'm sure it's all just sunshine and rainbows now, and everything's solved. It's the happy days have come at last. So I'm going to be playing Sir John Lightenor, a knight of the realm, and I'm just happy to be back.
And we are very happy to have you back, Eli. We definitely missed you last time. But does anybody else want to tell him, like, about his expectations, or should we just let him find out naturally? Probably just let him find out naturally. That's probably best. So next we have Steve.
That's me. My parents gave me that name. I didn't choose it. But yeah, no, I'm excited to be back. I almost couldn't make it because being an adult is stupid and work is stupid. But glad to be here. Glad to not have to deal with glad to have a nice sunshine rainbowy break from the desperation woes and fealty of the real world. Wait a minute. But yeah, miss you guys. Glad to be back. Where can you find me? I have no clue. I can't even find myself recently. I have to schedule time to pee. Like, it is ridiculous. And I tried, and they told me I didn't have time. So I'll hold it. It's cool.
All right. Expectations are firmly in place for this game for everyone all around the table. I'm happy to see that. The material that I've got prepared is certain to go over well. So, moving right along, Josh is next.
Let me see and make sure I got my correct microphone. Yeah, we're good. Hey, everybody. Josh here, playing again, Lord Eddard Painted Pendrick. I was unsure I was going to be able to make this session until about 30 minutes before the session was going to happen. So glad to be here. The reason for my lack of participation this time would have been the fact that me and my wife welcomed in a third child to the world here. They're about 2 weeks old now, but shout out to my wife for being a super mom and encouraging me to go off and do the things that I love to do with the people that I love. So I am glad to be here. Not a whole lot of places to find me online nowadays. Like Steve said, there's a lot of scheduling going on, being involved. So not too many projects going on other than this one, but I am glad to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm super happy that you're able to make it. Congratulations, by the way. I'm super happy for you and your family. And please tell your wife thank you very much for letting you come and play. Yeah, I'm glad that I went to the bathroom before we started, because otherwise I would probably be in a very uncomfortable place right about now. No, who am I kidding? This is always an uncomfortable place. All right, next we have Karen. But you're muted, though. False start, 10 yards.
Okay, I'm still Karen.
There you go.
Also known as Mythic Heroes. I clicked it, but it mustn't have clicked the right spot. I'm sorry. It's going to be one of those nights, apparently.
It's one of my games. It's just how it goes.
That's the way it works. Yeah, so kind of derailed myself right there. I don't know what I'm thinking or where. If I'm not here, I'm at Mini Train Domain. Yeah, and congrats, Josh. Woo! Party 5. Anyway, I'm so happy to be back here and that our party is all together, and we're going to have a wonderful time. We're going to have a wonderful time in those fields of flowers and sunshine that's going on, and it's going to be great.
Yeah. yeah, this is going to go wonderfully. I mean, I'll just jot down some notes while our last person introduces themselves. Baron, go ahead.
I was like, I want to be ready, and then I put my hands in my pockets. I wasn't ready. I'm Baron. I don't really do anything on the internet that I let people see anymore because I have more fun with my friends. I was going to say by myself, but I don't really have fun by myself. It's a with my friends thing. I work a lot. Everyone understands that now. If you don't, you do actually still. Anyway, I'm gonna round us out because I'm fucking up already. I'm playing Masaka Tord, and I'm ready to kick some ass and save some more children.
Perfect. Yeah. These are our fantastic players. I'm really happy to have everybody back around the table again. You should be able to find the link to everybody's OnlyFans channels below in the description of this video. Please support them. They're all struggling artists, as you can tell. We're all struggling. But we struggle together, damn it. No. Seriously, anybody who has a link to a channel, it is listed below. If it leads you to an OnlyFans page, I don't know what to say. But, yeah. I think we're ready to do this. Are there any questions or any last minute business that we need to attend to before we get started? No? Good deal.
I got a question.
Okay.
Can we get started already?
Should have fucking known. Yes, I think so. All right. Hold on, buttercups. Here we go. Gotta get a new song. The legends and myths we tell our children are filled with heroes who defeat vile monsters because we need to believe that the forces of evil can be fought back against. That good-hearted people can persevere against even the most terrifying darkness. And if they can do that, then the evils that threaten to grip our world every single day become naught but a simple task. But overcoming some of the darkness in our world is no mere child's play. We find the group of you, the 5 of you, in the Umbra Wood. This area that is still yet south of Ginden's wall, but is older and more ancient than a lot of the forest that covers the kingdom of Vykaril. You have crossed paths with a group of 3 people, one of which is the young lady known as Reba Krawahar. She is the daughter of a lesser noble from Warrenton, and her 2 companions, one of which, Sir Mayerk, is a sworn bannerman of House Krawahar, and he is an older knight, but seems to be very diligent in his duties. The other is a road knight by the name of Sir Darrand. He is a half-elf who seems a lot more accustomed to making his way through the Umbra Wood. He seems to be somewhat of a woodsman himself. He has been acting as their guide, leading them back towards the town of Warrenton. So when we join the 5 of you as you're breaking camp for the morning, getting ready to kind of head the rest of the distance, you fully anticipate to reach the walls of Warrenton today, though it will likely be the end of the day before you get there. So as we see that you're breaking camp and preparing for this kind of last leg of this portion of your journey at least, what is the mood about camp? How is the strange noises of the forest that kind of come and go at once, how is that shaping your experience out here in the woods?
I think Sir John is going about like it's almost imperceptible the change that it's had on him. He's still going about his day kind of like at his usual pace, getting his clothes packed and everything loaded onto the wagon and what have you. But his breathing has synced with the noise, and like he doesn't necessarily take one breath every time the noise rises and falls or whatever, but you could set a beat to either one and it would be the same beat.
I think for Dane, it's quite the opposite. Like it's everything about this is unsettling. There's a desire to be through this as fast as possible, but by the same token this sort of feeling of miasmic depression that just sort of sits here. I think it's casting a sort of tinge of like lethargy over everything. He's not as quick to break camp. He's not as quick to take down bedrolls and tents, even though there's that desire. So every movement is done with that purpose, but it's almost that that feeling you would have if you're in a pitch black setting and you can hear that other person in the room, right? You're trying to find the door. You're trying to move the right direction, but you're also trying not to attract attention. You're trying not to be any more vulnerable than you are. And so I think it set him on edge, not to the point of jump scare, but to the point that, it's purposeful, but lethargic.
The sounds in the night have definitely put Arya on edge as well. They're very unsettling. And her response to it is to maybe shut down even more than she has been the last few days. And she spends a lot of her time, even more so now, just meditating to try and regain some of that composure that she has definitely lost in this journey north as we get further and further north.
I think that most of the time spent after the initial meeting with the folks outside of Warrenton, and all the noises overnight, and Eddard actually coming into contact with the plague or some sort of sickness, he finds that every time there are those noises at night, it's like he's got something in the back of his throat and he's like holding back the worst cough you've ever had for like the longest amount of time possible. And he's better, but there's just something about it. Maybe he hasn't shaken it all the way, but it's definitely ominous, to say the least.
I think Tord is like working to like steady his hand by like some woodcraft. He's trying to do something real intricate, maybe like a detail of a face or like a rune or something on the side of this item that he's creating. And like there's like the sweat on his brow, like large drops. You can see like his focus is just like you could cut his focus with a knife. And kind of like right as he's about to finish, the droning begins, and he just like snaps the whole thing, and it's just like, oh no, oh, I broke it, and like just utter defeat. This large man holding this small woodcraft. Oh.
The road knight, known as Darrand, kind of comes over and he says, "Is everything all right?"
Yes, I just broke the thing I was working on. It's nothing.
Well, may I?
I don't see why not. I hand it to him.
He takes it from you, kind of takes the two pieces and kind of turns them about until you can kind of figure out how they kind of originally fit together. And he holds out his hand with them kind of placed, next to one another. And he mutters in Elvish, kind of under his breath, as he waves his other hand kind of over this wooden carving. And you watch as the wood grows back together and seems to like become more supple, as if it were like young green wood again. There might even be a few like small green sprouts that kind of come up from some of the extremities of the carving before he kind of holds it out at arm length and then passes it back down to you. There we are, good as new. Well, quite literally, I suppose.
No, I I appreciate it. It's more of an exercise than anything. Helps. My hand's been cramping up real bad lately, and making sure I do smaller, more intricate stuff has been helping with the tension.
Plus,
it seems kind of counterintuitive, but
I imagine it also helps pass some of the more trying times on the road.
well, I like to talk, but not everybody likes to talk.
Well, there's a lot of time that I spend out in these woods on my own, so there's not really always people to talk to. But I do understand. He kind of like opens, one of his bags, and he produces this like leatherworking kit that he has, and he kind of shows you this piece of leather that he's been apparently embossing, like stamping a pattern into. This is what I found that helps for me to pass the time. So again, I do understand.
It's incredible. You must take a lot of pride in your hobby.
Well, I'm learning as I go. Mistakes being the best teacher and all that.
Yeah, I mean, mine are pretty. This is actually probably the most complicated one, and
Holding it up, it's like it's an amalgamation of like a person, but like the back half is like deer legs or like some sort of like horse legs or hoofed animal. It wouldn't be enough detail to be like, oh, that's clearly a goat or clearly not, it's wood. But
this is probably 3.5 weeks worth of work.
Well, I don't know much about carving wood, but it's impressive. Especially with that knife. He kind of points to what is probably a rather large, like, dagger or something
sure.
that's not really, meant for wood carving.
This does a D4.
Right? There's no finesse about this weapon.
No.
Yeah, so he says, yeah, I can see it's, well, at least it looks half deer, a goat, something. I don't know. I think it's coming along nicely.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, of course. I have to ask. There's not very many Angorians that make their way up this far north.
Well, what exactly are you asking? Because I've been here twice.
Oh, well, forgive my ignorance then. No, I'm just curious. Is it just your companions that have brought you this far?
I like to consider myself more of a worldly individual. I like to see the kingdoms, you know. I consider myself a knight of Vykaril. I've wandered many, many places. Why not here as well?
Well, I can think of a few reasons as to why not here, but you know, every person's journey, I suppose, is personal to them. I imagine your reasons have brought you here, and well, I may not understand them, but they're your reasons. So, who am I to question?
The predetermined perceptions people have of me are their concern. If they are bold of character, they'll address them with me, and I will lay any of their qualms to rest, I assure you.
Of that I have no doubt. Your group is very capable, they seem. And not all who wander this part of the world are. And he kind of shoots a look over to the lady, Reba, who's kind of seated near the fire. It's very obvious, you know, just by what she wears, that she doesn't really belong traipsing around out here in the woods.
Kind of doing his best to juxtapose, I think that's the word, Eddard against this lady.
You are a man of battle. I'm sure you've experienced your fair share of quality leaders, as well as those who like to issue commands, like they're playing a game. I like to find myself behind the former, one who's blooded on the field, someone who is worldly, like myself.
Tested. Yes,
I don't necessarily know if tested is the word, because at one point he was not. But he did decide to take that first step. And it is one you must take without comfort. It's all risk.
Well, I will have to give him this. I do not know many nobles who would ride purposefully into plague-infested lands. There must be something that he has going for him. Even if it is to seek the shield.
It's hard to say what drives the hearts of men. Their ambitious hearts are fiery in their passions. He knows very well that this journey could kill him, but we go anyway.
It is exactly that ambition that sometimes worries me about men. Their fire, their ambition, as you have put it, and oftentimes burns all around it. Many, many forests have been lost to such ambitious flames before. And while there is not much that remains here in the barony of Warrenton, I would hate to see ambition burn it worse.
You speak wisely. And I do hear you. But the time for caution has long passed. People flee from their homes, die in their beds, and they fear what they do not even know kills them.
There is something strange at work here. Indeed, the speed at which this disease seems to have spread is well, unlike anything else I've seen before. Something, as if something drives it. Well, as I said, I can take you as far as the walls of the city, but I'm not entering the city myself.
We are grateful for your assistance and would ask you of no more.
Well, in exchange, I would ask that you watch over the two of them. And he kind of indicates the other two people that he's been traveling with. Again, the Lady Reba and Sir Merrick. While that one is a little prickly, he kind of nods towards the older human. I believe that his heart is in the right place. He seems to genuinely care for her and want to watch out for her safety. But I'm afraid that his sword alone may not be enough once he gets into the city. So, if you can, make sure that they make it back out safely.
I will do my best. I shan't leave them behind.
Your best is good enough. And he kind of taps the wood carving that you've got kind of sitting next to you, and he stands up and kind of goes back to his task of breaking the rest of camp.
Placing the kind of totem within my pack and kind of like cinching it up before readying myself to leave as well. The droning noise comes again, but instead of like a snap or a twinge of brow, you see that kind of Tord rises with it and squares his shoulders, almost in opposition.
Elsewhere in camp, the older knight is busy and kind of rolling up the bedrolls for both him and Lady Reba, and he lays out one of the bedrolls so that he can kind of roll it tightly. But as he does so, he makes sure that he's kind of positioned himself close to Dane, and he says, "You're very young for a knight."
Oh, I don't feel young for a night.
Well, trust me, you certainly are young. What are you? 16 winters? 17?
Dane kind of like holds up his fingers. 17, 16, something like that. Something like that.
I see. Yes, he said, "You see, you're even younger than she is." He kind of nods towards the young woman, kind of sitting there, trying to enjoy her breakfast. Although it's clear that she's not used to eating trail rations. How did you? Forgive me. How did you become a knight so young? Who was your sire?
Like Dane kind of like cocks an eyebrow at like the phrasing of that, but well, so John Lightnor over there, he's the one that I guess I guess it's his fault. Well, not fault, but
I think I know what you mean. Yes.
yeah.
You traveled with an elf.
Mm-hmm.
She is Is she sworn to House Bainchiel?
I wouldn't tell her that.
I see.
Have you had much interaction with the elves?
A few times in my life, yes.
Hmm.
I must say that it's never been anything that has impressed me much.
Have you ever seen a large owl vomit out a message from somebody?
He kind of furrows his kind of white eyebrows. No, I don't believe that I've ever seen that. It sounds like some form of elvish business. Owls and such.
Well, I mean, I suppose, but then do you think when they look at us and they see pigs, they go, oh, seems like some sort of human business, pigs and mud? I think they do, all the time.
Perhaps. I wouldn't even begin to guess what goes on in an elf's mind. It's far too strange.
It's very complicated. And if you give her half a chance, Ari will definitely give you a piece of her mind. But I don't know that she's necessarily sworn to Bejo. She is, but isn't. When we met him, he didn't bring it up. So I really don't have like confirmation.
So Bainchiol still lives.
Well, yeah. I don't necessarily think that unless like you kill an elf, I don't necessarily think that they die. Ever.
Well,
they just get old and even more mysterious.
Then he is a coward. He kind of says with a little bit of vinegar and kind of tightens the bedroll up.
And that's an opinion. But why would you say that?
Look around you.
Mm-hmm.
This entire region, this entire barony is falling apart.
Mm.
And yet Bainchiol has not shown himself in court for my entire life.
I mean, I am very young, so do you think that his showing to court would have changed the course of action? You think his attending a meeting and showing deference would have prevented a plague?
I don't know. I know the elves have many strange ways about them, strange magics that they involve themselves in, strange rituals that touch on all manner of dark things. For all I know, that this very plague was caused by them. Probably was.
Not going to. I'm not going to be the one to tell you you're wrong. That's not for a young knight to do to someone like yourself. But I can tell you, the traveling that I've done, and the lives that I've seen, the deaths that I've seen, my own included, at the center of it, every time, and I kind of like lean a little bit towards him, was us. People like us. Humans. Twisted. Given into hatred and fear. You see, death like this plague, this war, this calamity, this brewing, it creeps like a vine, like a low fog clinging to a very still lake, very still, stagnant lake where the water doesn't flow, and the water can't heal. And that fog, it creeps, and everything it touches, like a morning dew, soaks it. And then people who once were great, like you, are tainted by it. They're wet, they're resentful, and they have no place to focus that resentment, that fear. And so that vine, that fog, it clings to them. It grows deep into their bones, to their hearts, to their souls. It changes them. I've seen it. Children hung in cages. Clerics claiming to be prophets, standing up on broken stones among bodies, pointing at women, frail, beaten, starving, and blaming them while they hold in their hands the power, the ability, the knowledge to reach out and change, to help, but instead of dealing in hope and reclamation, they deal in fear and hatred. And people like you and people like me, when we don't stand strong against it, we buy that up. And when we're in camps, around our fires, around our hearths and homes, we teach it to our fellows, we utter it to our children, until the entire world is a stagnant lake. There's no healing. There's no thriving. We just all walk in a dense fog, but we can't see anything in front of us. And that's what you're hearing here. That's what you're feeling. That miasmic fog sitting all around us. I don't know who caused it, but I won't waste my energy pointing a finger until I'm sure. And I can promise you this, sir. When I do find who caused it, I won't be pointing a finger. I'll be pointing a sword. But like I said, I'm young. I'm not here to give lessons.
Clearly, he says. He finishes kind of rolling up the bedroll, kind of eyeing you the whole time, kind of brushes off the leaves and the dirt off of the bottom of it. If there is a clear cause of all of this, you won't be the only one pointing your sword. But as far as all of your other teachings, I will keep my own opinion.
I encourage you to.
He kind of like shoots a look sideways over at Ari, and then kind of gathers their belongings and kind of walks off in a little bit of a huff. He walks past.
Goat.
He walks past the young woman who's seated near the fire that's probably just like little more than smoldering at this point. You know, it's basically just whatever's left over from the previous night that's kind of just been pushed towards the center so it can somewhat rekindle. She's chewing on this piece of, you know, basically hardtack, this kind of thick dried bread, with a very disapproving look on her face, and taking another swig from the wineskin to probably try to rehydrate this stuff in her mouth before she has to swallow it. She looks over at Eddard, and she says, "How do you live this way?"
Well, you make plenty of time for good food and wine when you hit town. Other than that, out of luck. He just kind of laughs. He's also eating the same thing, and I mean, maybe 6 months ago, or however long it has been since you left Warrington the first time, he may be struggling to get down what it is too. But I mean, he's come a long way.
She kind of, whenever you mention, a stay at an inn, she kind of like throws her head back and kind of groans in frustration. She said, "Oh, if only I could sleep in an inn. I've never stayed in an inn, but that sounds absolutely fantastic right now. As long as it was a soft bed and it was clean and there was water so that I could wash and there was hot food that I could eat that wasn't something that was killed only an hour ago, and wine. Wine would be fantastic. And a fire that wasn't just like this." And she kind of kicks this loose stick kind of back into the pile. "A proper fire, with a comfortable chair to sit in. I could put my feet up next to it."
Could I roll a history check? Last time we were in Malrich, we stayed at an inn. I'm kind of trying to recall. She seems pretty hoity-toity, so I want to see if I can remember what's one of the better quality inns in town. Because after they leave here, probably that's where they're going, if I had to guess.
Well, you would know that they're headed to... Yeah, exactly.
No, after everything goes down in Warrington, if they survive, because I know a lot of people, once they left there, they went to Malrich.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you guys stayed at a pretty swanky one the last time you were there, so you have no problems recalling the name of it. I might,
because I didn't write it.
I have no idea what it was. I think we have a really excellent note taker somewhere in this group. I'm sure it's been written down somewhere, and if not,
I don't know if he's that excellent. I'll look, but I don't know.
And again, whatever, it doesn't matter. The Black Swan or the what have you.
There you go. I like that. The Black Swan. Okay, so, well, what's stopping you from staying at an inn? And he just kind of looks around and kind of eyes the old man. I'm guessing that's probably what it is. He and the family are probably pretty protective of her.
Well, until just a few weeks ago, we were living at home, but now it's just been this, sleeping outside under the trees and with this stupid noise that keeps going all night long. I'm going mad. That's what it is. I'm going mad.
Time on the road will do that to you. However, after all is said and done, Warrington, if you make it back to Malrich, I would suggest the Black Swan. Tell Tanya I said hello.
Oh, what? The Black Swan. Tanya, of course. I certainly will. Thank you.
Best inn in the capital, and it is harsh competition.
Oh, that's certainly good to know. I appreciate the suggestion, Lord Pendrake. Thank you.
He kind of nods and continues to eat his road rations and wash it down with a little bit of wine. But another thing he probably did over the. Oh, I'm sorry. But
no, you're good. Go ahead.
Something that the observant around camp probably noticed, and this is probably one of the things Tord brought up to the night. While everybody was sitting out at camp, like early in the morning before we were packing up, Eddard was actually sharpening up arrowheads for his bow and arrow. So
Excellent.
kind of just one of those things that, a normal lord wouldn't do stuff like that,
Yeah.
I guess.
Exactly.
So-
And she's watching you do this, and she's like, you seem so accustomed to this way of life. As a lord, I don't, I just don't understand. Did your castle burn? Did
No,
you
to
also
be
have
fair-
a plague?
No, he laughs. My barony is in Raisin layouts across to the west. It has been some time since I've been out there, so life on the road it is. We have a lot of things to get done and not a lot of time to do them. So, of course, I have appointed the proper people in place to make sure that the barony is running at 100% at all times, and easy to contact those folks. Things have been going well, so I hear.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. It sounds like the people that you are able to rely on are a lot like my mother, trying to do the best that they can without the presence of their lord. No offense meant, of course.
None taken. You should know that I understand where you're coming from. And he just kind of gives her a smirk and a nod. We all know that the Baron of Warrington is not like, he's just anyway. He doesn't say that aloud, but he kind of just gives her a look. But
And yeah, she definitely does not give voice to any agreement, but you can tell that that your meaning is not lost on her.
Yeah. Well, I don't know much of your family, but I assume they're good people, and I hope they made it out of the other side of the plague alive. My folks, a lot of people weren't so lucky.
Yes, there's so many of them still. Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I'm still wandering out here without a home. They seem to almost have no place to go. I don't know what to do.
Well, hopefully when all is said and done, eventually Warrington will be habitable again. And this plague will be a thing of the past, and I'll write about it in my book.
You're writing a book?
Oh, just memoirs from the road. I was the son of a librarians after all, so.
Of course, yes. Yes. That's interesting. Well, you're headed to Warrington to find the shield?
He kind of just looks at her. What do you mean?
For the Baron of Warrington.
He's lost the shield.
Oh, you no, I don't think it was lost. I'm
Was
sure
it
that it's
left?
safe.
Did he forget to grab it on his way out with the rest of his court?
You know, I could be mistaken. She kind of says, and she kind of starts to very quickly busy herself with, something that doesn't matter, picking at the hem of her dress or something.
Well, I suppose we shall see. Eddard packs up his things, puts his arrows in his quiver, and gives her a nod.
Of course. She kind of goes back to trying to eat her meager breakfast. So before you hit the road and head towards Warrington, is there anything else that you want to say or do?
Yeah, I want to jump back to shortly after Sir Merrick and Sir Dane parted, and Sir Merrick kind of huffed off or whatever. So John I think it took him a few days to adjust to not having porters and his retinue to like set up camp and break it down for him or whatever. And he's ended up kind of abandoning some comforts along the roadside as you've come along. But so John is very disciplined. Like he trains 2 hours every day. He lives like a regimented, scheduled life. And so I think at this point, he's usually the first one who's done packing in the morning because he's just like, he's got his process in place. And so he's been done for a little bit and he's like practicing with his sword to warm up. And I think Sir Merrick comes by and he goes, Sir Merrick, a word, if you will.
Oh, yes, of course. He kind of turns and kind of checks on his charge first before then moving further away from her to join you kind of off on the side. What can I do for you? So Leightonor, I believe.
Yes, I think I know you from the lists. And I want to be clear, he and the lady Kawahar were both in Warrenton together for a while. Like they're coming from that place and they're trying to get back there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So when the plague hit and everything, her mother, the actual proper lady Kawahar, has stayed behind to try to organize things and try to help people. But
Got it.
she sent her daughter away under the care of Sir Merrick when things started looking really dire, and they've been kind of wandering around with the intention of heading south towards the capital, but apparently Reba kind of put her foot down and insisted that Sir Merrick take her back to Warrenton to check on things.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, so I think Sir John says, you were stationed in Warrenton since before the plague.
Yes, I've served the house Kawahar for many years, many decades.
And you've been there since the plague broke out. Are the strange creatures still lurking everywhere?
I don't recall any creatures, no. What creatures do you mean?
Beasts, undead vermin, devils, strange creatures. You've never faced these in Warrenton.
No, there were many dead in Warrenton, for sure, but none that had any unnatural life about them.
Then perhaps we drew them away for you. At any rate, do you have experience fighting these things?
I have come across a few of the undead before, yes. In my younger days. Believe it or not, I had a go at being an adventurer at one time.
Well, you may very well encounter them again and soon, so brush up on whatever knowledge you have. We've had our fair share of them among this party here, and I'm looking mostly over at Sir Dane while I'm saying that.
You mean to say, and he kind of like leans in close, that there could be undead creatures in Warrenton itself?
There could be creatures of any kind just about anywhere. Perhaps they only follow us, in which case you will be glad to be rid of us, I'm sure.
I knew that there was dark magic behind this. It stands to reason.
Yes, and if you are not prepared now, I implore you to get that way as soon as you can. Both for your sake and for the young ladies.
Yes, of course. Well, if it was up to me, and he kind of like shoots her a little bit of a look, we wouldn't be headed back there. Not at all.
I am more road knight than court knight these days, but once upon a time I had my 2 feet in the courtly world and in the tournament lists. And, well, I know what it means to boss people around.
Are you saying that you think you might be able to persuade my lady to turn around?
Oh, no, I'm saying I understand why she thinks she has license to command you, because she does. and her will be done.
Ah, I now catch your meaning, sir. Yes. Unfortunately, it is her will that I must abide.
Yes, indeed. Well, I suppose we shall have each other's backs there. And I think at this point, I want to flash back in my memory and like get a reminder about what I know about him from tournaments and from like his knightly career.
Okay. Yeah.
I can do insight or something. If
Yeah.
that's what you like.
Maybe a history roll.
Sure. That's a 13.
Okay. So he's probably not a name that necessarily leaps out at you. His career has probably been fairly quiet the last decade or two. He's decently on in his years, and competing in tournament games and things like that would be a little difficult for him to do now. But back whenever he was younger, he made a few, names for himself here or there. He may have won, a melee or a joust here or there, kind of through his earlier career.
So kind of a workaday dude, nothing super impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I've also been talking to him for at least a minute, so I want to use my know your enemy ability and like get a general sense for like his power level in relation to mine. And then there are two specific kind of mechanical questions I can ask, but I'm more interested in like what I suss out about his fighting style.
Okay. You guys are... What level are you on now?
11.
11?
I am,
okay.
anyway.
Your guess is that he's probably 8th or 9th level. So definitely not as accomplished as your group is. And his fighting style, just by the way that he kind of moves and the typical the kit that he carries with him, armor and weapons and that kind of thing, he seems to favor a very defensive fighting style. You think that he's probably been a bodyguard for a while. He definitely kind of has that air of always watching around kind of what's going on, always kind of shifting to his back leg, kind of resting his weight there. His hand is never very far from his weapon. He carries his shield with him pretty much everywhere he goes. So he definitely has kind of this protective air about him.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I think I would make a comment about, some placement that I remember he had in the lists back in the day. And then say something like, if you can still hold a line like that, I think we'll do all right here in Warrenton.
He kind of, puffs up a little bit at the mention of this, thing that was very likely his best accomplishment. He kind of smiles from, beneath his kind of scruffy white beard. Yes, I think I've still got it in me. Well, hopefully hopefully I'm not meant to be tested.
And if you are, you'll be at my side. Fear not.
Of course. No fear at all. He kind of says, but very obviously not with a lot of conviction.
Yeah. And I think like as we kind of part ways, so John is about to go back to his drills or whatever, and then he kind of looks over at Tord trying to work out his nerves on this little wooden thing. He's like, Tord, why don't you work out your jitters at the end of my sword over here?
Tord kind of like looks up with like a hump. Well, fine. Give me a moment.
And then I think as soon as he actually comes over, so John immediately like throws his sword down, is like, surprise, grappling, and then grabs him and like wrestles him to the ground.
Oh, what you don't know is Angorians have a strong tradition of grapples and tosses.
Well, let's see it.
Is this opposed athletics checks?
Fine by me.
Yeah. That's a good way to handle the grapple.
Well, it looked like a 1, but it was actually a 7. I rolled a 15.
I got a 26.
Ooh.
You got me. Maybe I catch your sword. You like toss your sword into my arm. What?
Oh, and then I'm right behind it, tackle you to the ground. And you like fight for a little while, but yeah, I end up pretty much trouncing you. Well, your head wasn't in it this time, my friend.
No, it appears as if you've bested me this time, Sir John. It won't happen again.
I think I kind of look around. I'm like, everyone's so keyed up about this. We've faced something like this a dozen times. What's the worry here?
I suppose this is something that's a little bit newer for me and a little more nonchalant for you, but I haven't usually been in a situation where I have people relying on me to come home.
Ah. Well, I've done what I can to avoid it on my part.
It's new. We've discussed this a little. But the fishing line of our patience or stress is pulled taut. We're just trying to reel it in, I think.
Indeed. Well,
I haven't gone fishing in a while. I would love to go fishing. Gosh.
you'll
when
have
was
to
the
talk
last-
to Dane. I can't stand it myself.
It's not for everyone.
It's a peasant activity.
The last time I tried to take him fishing toward, he threw the entire rod into the water and then proceeded to yell at the old man. What was his name? Derek. That was with us about how it was the rod's fault and that he had brought him a bad rod.
I maintain that it should have been a spear all along.
No, from what I understand, noble types don't really have the mental fortitude to endure fishing.
Yes, I am not inured to boredom.
You want to see him get real angry, ask him to play chess.
Oh,
I love chess. It's such a visceral sport.
you know what I prefer in terms of visceral sports? Dueling.
We know.
Been there.
We duel all the time. We like to do other
but
things
come
too.
on, you'll beat me again someday.
And I'm sure I will lose again too. But you have to admit there are other activities. Dane, would you like to play chess with me sometime?
Toward, I think I would like that, assuming that we get out of this hellscape and don't all die from it.
Naturally, I'm not getting in my head ahead of myself by any means. But in the event we make it back to civilization.
Yeah, I think Eddard plays as well.
Eddard plays chess. Duh, of course Eddard plays chess.
If
It
not,
has
if
been
not, he's
some
read a
time.
book on it.
Well, I'm so glad you've all found each other.
Well, to be fair, we just have always had so much stuff going on all the time. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Well, we
It's-
do get downtime every once in a while.
It's an awkward spot, but we've never really talked about what we do for fun. It's always been roll this barrel here, calisthenics there, ovens over here, which is
That not
there.
fun for you? Wait.
No.
You
Well-
never liked rolling the barrel up and down the hill?
To be fair, he also died.
But not from the barrel.
I mean, it kills us on the inside.
Right, it
Oh.
just took me a while to die on the outside afterwards.
I think it's a great time. I can feel it in my glutes.
You can feel it in your glutes when I'm rolling a barrel.
Well, it reminds me of old times when I was a squire.
We need help.
What we need is clean chainmail.
What we need is to get to Warrington and get out of here.
Well, that too. I suppose it is about time. Are all the rest of you done packing yet?
I mean, the other three are sitting on the horses staring at us right now.
Oh, here I've gone and trained too long again. My apologies.
Nope, there's nothing to apologize for. You're just keeping in tip-top shape.
I think we mount up after that.
It's good to be able to laugh. Even now.
And on that somber note, all of you please take a point of inspiration. That was incredible. Oh man, I have missed playing with all of you very much. Okay, so you finish striking camp, and you mount up on horseback, and you head further north. After most of the day, like I said, the sun is probably starting to drift towards the eastern horizon, because in Rostveen the sun rises in the west and sets in the east. So the sky is beginning to kind of start to turn the pinks and oranges at the horizon, signaling the end of the day. Whenever you see the walls of Warrington ahead of you, you can see the south gate still standing open, but there are dozens, if not hundreds, of crows that are circling and flying around all of the towers and the rooftops, all within the city. Even from this distance, you can see and hear them as you make your approach to the city. What is your plan? Oh. No, this is fine. We're good.
Wow, this looks welcoming.
Normally, I would approve of a crow or raven escort to where I'm going, but alas, I'm not comfortable with this one.
Well, on the bright side, they're not dead. Right.
Yet.
Well,
Can we kind of like, do they look messed up? Do they look fine?
do they have fingers hanging out of their beaks?
You could make perception rolls if you'd like.
I do like.
I like do a cha-cha.
I like a do a cha-cha. I rolled a natural one, so I ain't seen shit.
They look fine to you.
Look, everyone, my escort.
Normal ravens.
So I had a
Nothing to
17
see.
perception and a 25 survival for identifying kind of how
Okay.
healthy they look.
All right. So Dane, Ari, and Eddard, All of you notice that these ravens are definitely partaking of the buffet that is likely available in the streets of Warrington. The birds themselves don't necessarily look like they are messed up or diseased or anything like that, but for how long that you know these bodies have been present, this would be kind of strange behavior for crows and ravens.
Meaning that if it had been such a long period of time for the bodies to have been decaying, the crows would have moved on to a less decayed food source, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not claiming to be an expert here, but wouldn't everything inside be rotten and the birds not really be here anymore? Unless there's fresher source of food inside.
I'm not really too fluent with the mating habits of the northwestern Vykarilian raven, but that would be my guess. Outside of eating, they fuck.
And there you have it, folks. Towards God to life. But what I mean is, like, in the farms, right? When something, a horse, a cow, a pig, they die and don't get taken care of right away. Sure, the crows come, the vultures come, the buzzards, whatever. But after a bit of time, the crows move on. Like, they don't. Once the meat's rancid, once it's turned, they won't eat it. They're too smart. Now, other things will. Other creatures that have a more like Angorian type stomach,
Tord just nods.
like they can handle it. But these birds, they shouldn't. They should have left.
Do you believe there is some nefarious purpose behind their being here?
They're either being held here, fed here, or bred here.
Out of character, we defeated Father Gladeophon back last time we were in Warrington, right? So like,
Correct.
he's no longer in the picture, but maybe there's still some kind of dark power in town or something.
Or he's a lich.
I mean, or, yeah, well,
A lich named Rainbow and Sunshine.
Gladea shine.
The villain from a bad Irish movie.
Sir Darren has kind of like walked up from where Sir Merrick and Lady Reba have kind of held back a little bit. He kind of walks up to where you're having this discussion. What is the is there an issue? An unexpected development of some kind?
Birds are worrisome.
We haven't survived this long without caution. What would you take of that? All those birds over there.
Well, it certainly looks like there's a lot of death. When anytime there's that many crows and ravens in one spot, it typically only means one thing.
Right, but how long has it been since?
I mean, throwing out like our rough estimate since the last time we were here, and there was lots of people dead the last time we were here.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
was like, I want to say, give or take, ballpark 2.5, 3 months ago.
Probably closer to a month and a half to 2 months.
Okay.
You guys have
We get around.
You guys have yeah.
We
you guys
do.
have
We do be
moved
moving.
a lot. Whenever you bring that up, he kind of looks back in that direction, kind of folds his arms across his chest. Now that you mention it, it is, I suppose, a little strange. Maybe not everyone made it out of the city. Maybe there's fresh or dead.
It's sure, but let's think about that. You're in a city beset by a plague, and you're trying to stay because you're trying to hold out. You don't want to leave, whatever. And people start dying around you. Do you just huck the bodies in the street for the birds to eat and hope for the best? Or do you burn them or the equivalent? So, well, what I'm saying here is if there's enough dead for all of that, that's it's worrisome in the least, right? Either very, very poor planning on the survivors' parts or something else.
No, I certainly see your point, but to be honest, cities have never really sat right with me anyways. Namely, because of the things that I have seen humans throw out into the streets. But I could not hazard a guess as to what it could be causing it.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, I think we're going to have to search on this. And by that, I mean, words aren't going to get us anywhere. We're going to have to go in there and see for ourselves.
At that moment, Sir John, who's at the back of the column, is like, "Open the gate!"
Well, there you have it.
Well, as I said, this is as far as I go.
Right.
I wish all of you the best of luck with whatever it is that lies on the other side of those walls.
Where is it he's traveling to? Did he ever stay?
He hasn't.
All right. Where are you headed after this?
I think I might head north for a while. I was north of Ginden's Wall whenever all of this started, and I tried to come to see if I could help, but it was already too late. As I said, this disease moves with an unnatural haste, and I'd rather stay clear of it if I can.
Thank you, I suppose.
I wish there was more that I could do.
I wish there was less we had to do.
At this point, Sir John rides up to the front of the column and he hops off of his horse and he kind of goes, "Ugh." And he pulls out his sword and walks over to the gate and opens it himself. What are we so scared of? And then I kind of look inside.
Inside, you see very much kind of the way that it was the last time you were here. The city itself is in rough shape. Several buildings look like they've, potentially caught fire, burned down, in the absence of anyone to take care of it. There are bodies that are, in crows' cages that are hanging as if, they were common criminals. Many of them are just lying in the street. Everything from the lowest commoner up through guards, knights, and even, a few people that you suspect might be nobility. The bodies obviously have decayed quite a bit more since the last time that you were here. However, maybe not as much as you might have expected. Normally, in a place like this, most of the bodies would be approaching skeletal at this point. Most of the soft tissue would have been eaten by the myriad of rats and the crows that are kind of having their way currently, but these still have quite a bit of substance left on them.
Ugh. One never gets used to the smell of this place, does one?
Question. Would I know where it was likely that the shield would have been? Probably somewhere within where he holds court, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I imagine since Eddard kind of lived in the keep, you probably spent quite a bit of time running around there. Yeah, I imagine you probably know that it is located in the sanctuary of the keep. There's a small room kind of at the back that has, a lock on the door or whatnot. It's kind of not quite a vault, but it's a room that was used often for keeping safe things that were considered valuable.
Gotcha. And did we ever go to that area whenever we originally were fleeing? Because I could have sworn we went down below to the teleportation circle, and they only really have those in the major keeps in the cities.
Yeah,
so we were close.
You were
but
definitely
not there.
Right. Yeah, you were definitely within the keep whenever you used the teleportation circle to leave here.
Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, but not necessarily to the sanctuary.
Right. I was kind of trying to remember because it's been so long. Where did we actually fight the father at? I thought it was in a cathedral.
It was. That would be a separate building. So that's
okay.
An actual grand, the Cathedral of Warrenton. That's kind of dedicated to the virtuous divinity. And this would be more like a private noble sanctuary. So you would hold mass for 24 people at most.
Yeah.
And it's actually a part of the keep itself.
Gotcha. So I think the first thing that Eddard does upon arriving inside the gates is he opens up a link with Tord and uses what's the spell? Send message, whatever the cantrip is, that he can communicate with let's see, I forget it every time. Message. Yeah, he just needs to be close enough that I can see him, and we can kind of do a back and forth one-liner type thing. So basically, Eddard is just letting you know that the Lady Crowahar let slip that they were also here for the shield, and that Eddard would also tell you that he knows probably where it's being kept, but not sure exactly how to approach without setting off the alarm with these other folks. And you can talk back to me. Nobody can hear us.
Truthfully, I had every inclination that if they were going the same place we were, they're probably going for the same thing we were. And, I mean, to be frank, do we care what they think if we take it first? I don't mean that I don't like them, nor do I wish them ill, but petty claims mean nothing. What do you aim to do with the shield, Eddard? Do you aim to give it back?
No, not at all. I'd rather see the barony of Warrenton splinter before my eyes than return it to this guy.
You'll be a fine lord one day, Eddard.
My hope is that the people of Warrington, those who still live, will see where his true interests lie. And when the time comes, maybe they will back somebody else.
So we go in, we get the shield. We need to do so in a way that, what are we preventing with them? I guess that's my question. Are we afraid to fight them? Just tell them to get lost.
No, I'm not afraid to fight.
Like
I
I said,
don't
I'd
think
rather
they
not.
would. I don't think that they would want to fight, but even if they did, I don't believe they have the capacity to fight the whole lot of us.
We take the girl to see her mother. We convince her to stay, or what have you. And we go get the shield.
If I could get on the family Crowheart side, that would potentially help back my claim to whatever this is now. They are nobility in Warrington, after all.
Very well.
So I think Eddard kind of says aloud, now that we're here, to the Lady Crowhar. So, your mother, do you have any idea where we should start?
Yes, whenever all of this business began, she moved here to the city. We have an estate outside of Warrington, but when the Baron left, the people needed someone to guide them, someone to help them with making all of the decisions, and, well, she moved here to the keep. There's
very good.
A room, there's an area of apartments for anyone who has come to visit court, and, well, there certainly were not very many people who were visiting, so Mother moved in to the apartments and was doing business from there. That's the last time that I saw her.
I want to be very upfront with you. The state of Warrington now, it doesn't look good, but
It smells awful.
I believe we should let us see to your mother first before we go looking for whatever it is that we're here for.
Yes, I would very much like that. Thank you.
So yeah, I think so as we got into town, after the gates open, there's not a lot of living things besides the birds. I don't know. I mean, I guess we just ride in. Does anybody have any better ideas? Eddard wraps his cloak around his head like he did before.
Okay. As the 7 of you make your way in through the open gate into the streets of Warrington, that's where we're going to take our break. So, we're going to take a 10-minute, refill your drinks, go to the bathroom, kiss your spouse, smoke them if you got them, etc., etc. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen next. As if I have no idea. Sit tight, and we will be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back from the break. This is second half of session 38 of Beneath the Banner's Shadow. This episode is titled Pocket Full of Posies. So as we head back into this session, we find the 5 of our heroes, the 5 members of the group that has been somewhat referred to privately as the Sword of Vykaril. But in addition to the 5 of our familiar faces, we have 2 additional, those of the young lady Reba Krawahar and her bodyguard escort Sir Mayerk. They are both kind of trailing after the 5 of you as your little group now pushes into the walls of Warrenton. All about you, the rats, the crows, the flies, and the stench are overwhelming. Even the seasoned Sir Mayerk has had to try to prevent himself from retching on more than one occasion. The lady Reba has lost whatever ration that she had managed to eat for breakfast that morning. As you press deeper into the city, you can see bodies are everywhere here. It does not look like there was anyone who has been spared. As you make your way towards the keep, the house seat, if you will, here in the barony of Warrenton, is there anything that you're saying or doing before you get to the keep? And what is your approach? Are you heading straight for the front doors? Are you wanting to try to get to it a different way? Do you want to find a vantage point? What is that like?
I think first, you said that we were arriving here at nighttime, and it would be night as we got here. So I assume it's dark.
Yeah, the sky is that kind of multicolored hue right now of the failing light of day.
Shall I light a torch?
I think Tor's gonna light a torch anyway.
I think when you say that, Dane sort of looks over at you, and there's that weird silver gold hue behind his eyes, and he just sort of shrugs.
Yeah, Ari's just kind of shrugging as well as she's removing the veil that she wears throughout the day, as she can now see pleasantly.
Yes,
Okay.
Tor, light a torch, please. I can't see anything.
So yeah, Dane and Ari, unperturbed as they might be, toward you know, no time at all. You kind of, drop to a knee, you pull out a torch, and you strike your, your flint and your tinder, or your flint and steel against it for a moment before, it sparks to life, and the area around you is then kind of bathed in orange, ample orange light. At least the immediate area around you, you're able to see without any problem at all.
I'm sure the illumination is only making us more comfortable with the gore that we see about us.
It definitely does seem to have the unfortunate side effect of also highlighting what you're having to kind of step over and amongst in some places.
Yeah, I immediately got the kind of dancing shadows on all these dead bodies that give the illusion that they're moving. It's fuck.
Yeah, every once in a while you might think you see like a head turn or something, but you're hoping it was just the play of the shadows. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So having this torch lit, and two of you, making sure that you're out far enough away from it that it's not, destroying your dark vision. Is there anything else that you're doing as you approach the keep? And again, do you want to head straight for the front door, the front gate? Yeah. Okay.
Would I know if there's another way to get to the apartments that she's talking about?
Yeah, so there's like a secondary entrance through this inner wall. So the keep has its own grounds that are, the highest point of the city or what have you. And it's a wall within a wall. Oh, you know what? I don't have a picture of the keep, but I do have pictures. Hold on. Of course, it's at the bottom of the list because some dumbass named this with a W. There we go. Good enough. All right. So you can see that it kind of looks over the rest of the town. And it has kind of its own perimeter wall. So getting up to it, there's really only two ways to get through that inner wall. The first is the front gatehouse, which is where most of the traffic comes and goes. The second would be an entrance that's used by like the members of the royal house, or sometimes the staff if they want to come and go without quite as much of a crowd.
Yeah.
So it's like a single door with a lock on it, as opposed to like a portcullis and a gate.
I'll let everybody know. There's a second entrance. One that maybe is not as... One that would not announce our presence as much as opening up a portcullis. Or on the side, there's another gate. Simple door with a lock.
Who are we announcing our presence to, do you think? They're all dead here.
So far as we've seen, but who knows what may have taken residence here. I don't mind. We can do this either way. Just something to think about, that's all.
Whatever's easier, really.
I mean, is the gate open in front of the keep, or does it look to be closed?
It is closed currently.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't see a reason why the gate should have been closed. So makes me a little more uneasy. I think we should take the side entrance.
Lead the way.
So Edward would kind of maneuver around from the main gate, lead the way. And so this second door is basically just like a side entrance to the gate into the grounds of the keep. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's kind of, the gates would be situated in front of the keep itself, and this is like on one of the side entrances. So, if it's facing north, then it would be on the east or the west side of the building.
Okay. So, assuming we found the door, is it locked?
It is. As you approach the door, you start kind of noticing that there's a much denser concentration of bodies here. And it gets to the point where you're actually coming across stacks and piles of bodies that are knee, waist deep. And you're having a hard time navigating around some of them. Like, it starts to get to where you realize that there's actually like a mound of bodies that is kind of up against the wall, and where you realize the door is buried underneath.
Wow. Well, seems like this was the road most traveled for those trying to escape. I'm not in the business of mucking around with these buddies or potentially coming into contact with the plague again. I think should try and find another way. What say everybody else?
Well, I'm not wanting to move them bodies. But you think they're there because they were trying to escape, or were they trying to get in?
I think that makes more sense. Whatever was hiding in the keep was trying to keep them out.
That's probably why the gate was down then.
I can only hope the Baron of Warrington would not have been so cruel to his subjects. So how would we go about lifting the portcullis out front?
How tall are the walls here?
So this inner wall, the walls are probably, we'll say 15 feet. They're not super tall, but this is, a second line of defense for the city typically. And, usually you wouldn't have to be having to ward against siege equipment and things being this deep into the city. But it certainly is high because this is a northern settlement and it's pretty much kind of the last city until you get into the wilds that are north of Ginden's Wall. So yeah, I think about 15 feet sounds right.
I believe. I'm trying to find it. It's been so long.
You can do some crazy monk shit.
Yeah. Yes, I can.
You can
climb this wall.
Yeah, you can climb your hopes and aspirations. Okay, so what does that look like? Is it a feature that just allows it to happen, or is it a roll you need to make?
No, I just can move along vertical surfaces and across liquids without.
Course.
I could just do it.
Like you do on a Tuesday.
Like that's how we took Raisin Flot to begin with, I believe.
That's amazing. So please describe to me what it looks like as Ari just kind of goes up to the wall and just Peter Parker's her way over it.
That's pretty much it. She just kind of looks at Eddard like he's like, how are we going to open the gate? And she's like, I've got to plan. And she just literally scurries up. She's finding, it's like rock climbing at super speed. She's finding holes that you didn't even know would exist. Like she's hanging by a finger here. And all of a sudden she's at the top of the wall. And I don't know how wide the wall is, but if it is fairly wide, I will walk it most of the way back to where the gate is before I go down.
Yeah, so it's got a 5-foot walkway. And then there's not really any battlements on the other side. It's basically kind of got a low railing that's kind of just purely for safety, and you can easily kind of move along that walkway towards the gate. And there's the gatehouse itself is probably closer to 25 feet or so, and there's a door that you're headed straight for that looks like it probably houses the pulley and the mechanism that would raise and lower the portcullis.
So I head straight there. At this point, she's not really looking out for anybody else because she's pretty sure they're not here. So she's just go there, gatehouse, open the gate, let the people in.
Okay. You open the door and it opens 8 inches, 10 inches or so before that very abruptly stops. and it's got a little bit of give to it. So if you put a little bit of force, a little bit of muscle into it, it will open, and you realize that there's two bodies in this room, and one of them was close enough to the door that it basically was working as a doorstop. The smell in here is strong, much like the rest of the city, but this has kind of been semi-contained. So there's a lot of the buzzing of flies and things of that nature. But in fact, sitting kind of in the center of the room, it kind of dominates this space, is a large what would that be called? I just lost the word. Capstan. A large capstan that would be used. It's got chains and shit going, up and down, and the portcullis itself is kind of like raised up through the middle of the room, kind of almost subdividing this space into two long, narrow hallways. The other thing that strikes you is that this gatehouse is fully stocked with like quivers of arrows, and you see like oil and like things that were prepared for like siege warcraft, like someone attacking this place. And the two guards that are in here are very heavily armored. Not the way a normal guard would probably stay armored, but like they were expecting trouble. One of them, the second body, his face is, you don't think that it's simply been food for something. It looks like it was hit with some kind of corrosive substance, or possibly even magic. This was a bad death. So I know that's a lot to take in, but that's what you find in this small gatehouse.
So she registers all of that, and then immediately goes towards like the capstan and to try to raise this portcullis.
Okay.
At least enough that maybe they can get in.
So I need a strength check.
Yeah.
You can use athletics if you have it.
Perfect. Okay. Oh, that's a 2 on the die for a total of 5.
Okay. You lean on, one of the spokes of this capstan and kind of push up on the next one, kind of just basically using the entire weight of your body to try to start this thing rotating. And it shifts to the next place where the latch catches the tooth on the wheel or something, and it doesn't budge any further than that. If you kind of look down where the narrow opening that kind of the portcullis steel kind of rises up and down, you can see that there are a lot of bodies that are piled up here, and a lot of people have like their arms and hands and feet and legs like through the openings in the portcullis, and they're again at the gate itself. The mass of bodies is kind of leaning up against the portcullis, and it's at least as tall as Tord.
Yeah, seeing that and knowing there's just no way that I'm going to be able to do that, she's going to pull out the rope that she has, and she's going to tie it off to maybe the capstan itself. It looks like it's pretty sturdy, right? Yeah, tie it off on the capstan itself, and then throw the rest of the rope over the wall to the somebody down below. I can't do it. It's stuck. There's too many bodies in the way. If you can, just climb up.
Any volunteers?
Tord will try and scramble up.
All right. Let's get an athletics check from you. Does heavy armor do anything for athletics? No, it's only stealth, right?
Correct.
I think it's only stealth. Maybe if you're swimming. So, never mind. Proceed.
Does he get advantage because of the rope?
Yeah, I would think so.
First roll was a 16. Second is less.
Okay. So you easily kind of make your way up this knotted rope, especially since it's kind of up against the stone wall here. You kind of do that reverse rappel where you're kind of seated with your feet on the wall and you kind of hand over hand and walk your way up the wall. Towards physique, it's not a problem at all. Very quickly kind of haul yourself, armor and all, up and over the edge of the crenellations. Anybody else?
I'm going for it.
All right. Let's get a roll. Said
This is
athletics if you have it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 13.
Okay. So you start heading up the wall. Try as you might, it's not quite as effortless as Tord made it look. The armor that you're wearing is, and you carry a pole arm with you. It's definitely making this climb difficult, but you still managed to do it without slipping or falling. You managed to kind of move yourself up and over the edge of the crenellations and onto that little walkway.
Sounds good.
Anybody else? Sir Merrick seems content to stay and wait until the lady can get up and over. And he's waiting until all of you have gone before he is wanting for her to go.
Edward will go.
Okay.
So is that athletics?
Mm-hmm. Yep. An advantage with the rope.
Oh, saved by the die. Dirty 20. I only have a
Hey.
+1 to athletics.
Hey, that's perfect. So yeah, Eddard, very quickly, you kind of push your cloak kind of off your shoulder, and you manage to, you probably, more like you would climb the rope in gym class, where you kind of hand and feet on the knots. You make your way up very quickly, up and over the edge of the wall. Sir Merrick kind of looks at Dane. Well?
Perhaps we should let her go up first in case she falters. Better two of us to catch her than one.
He kind of nods, kind of looks up at the top of the wall. Very well. And he kind of goes over and puts his back against the wall, kind of cups his hand, kind of at knee height. And the lady comes over, and she grabs a hold of this rope and is going to attempt to climb. She'll have advantage because of the rope, as well as Sir Merrick's help. Okay. So with the aid of the rope and with her knight kind of giving her a boost up, she's able to make it up this rope with considerable skill. So this is likely not the first time that she's climbed something like this. And she manages to climb up, and with maybe a little bit of help at the top of the wall, she's able to kind of get up and over. It wasn't easy doing it in the dress that she's wearing, though it is, already somewhat tattered, and that doesn't seem to slow her down in that regard. It's still not the best for moving around in, I don't imagine. So she goes up and over, and the knight, still with his back to the wall, his hands kind of clasped, cupped at his knee, kind of looks at you, Dane. Well, 17 winters. Are you ready?
Sure. I've been 19 on my climb check.
Okay. With many practiced pushes of the barrel up the hill, Dane very quickly clambers up this rope and up and over the side. Now for the knight who is on in his winters. Let's see. Oh, holy shit. Okay. With a surprising amount of vigor, he pulls himself up the rope over the edge of the wall and lands with just a little bit of like kind of having to catch his breath afterwards. Shall we?
We didn't come here for the decorations.
Okay. So now that you're on this walkway, this
I
interior
guess
wall.
like Dane looks to Eddard like,
Yeah.
which way?
Ari gathers back up the rope before we head out. Just because.
Yeah, let's not leave him for any zombies to climb over.
No, exactly.
Are you leaving it tied up and just coiled here, or are you untying it and bringing it with you?
No, I'm going to take it with me, just in case we need it again.
All right, Eddard, I suppose, lead on.
All right, Eddard. Are you taking everyone straight to the apartments then?
Yes, I think we will go straight to the apartments.
Okay. So what I would like is for each one of you to describe to me something that you experience or witness as you make your way through this courtyard, the entrance to the keep, to the keep itself, and eventually make your way to where these courtly appointments or courtly apartments are located here within the keep. Something that you experienced or come across or spot on your way there.
So on the front side, this portcullis side is a wooden door, very solid construction, but sort of meager in its looks. This is the door that the kitchen servants and staff would have come in and out to go out into town to collect the odds and ends that weren't brought into the apartments that they might need for meals and things like that. It's where the stable hands would have come out, so, from that door to collect horses from visiting, more well-to-do individuals. It's that type of door. The door of the common folk that sees and has access into this richer, more lavish estate. but this door has been shut, and you can tell it's been shut hard. And you can tell this because on the outside of it, we see 6 or 7 dogs that would have belonged to the people living here that are now in different states of decay and death. Some of them perhaps having turned on each other in the madness of the strife and struggle, sort of laying there. Others curled up against a dark stone, sort of sadly accepting what's to become of them. But perhaps the most desperate picture in it is the dog that has, at some point before it was consumed by this plague, scratched at this door so hard the planks are raw at that level, and its little paws, the claws on it have been worn to nothing until this little dog was just scraping with its paw at the door. I think that's a very shocking moment for Dane. Sure, you see deer and wild animals and people, but to see everyone looks at puppies and dogs and understands that generally speaking they don't mean any malice, right? They want the best for you. And yet here, the people inside at some point becoming too afraid to even let those sort of trusted companions back inside. And I think that hits Dane even harder than perhaps Ari saying that they were just stacked up bodies near the side entrance, and the discussion of whether or not those people were trying to get out or in. It is very clear that these dogs were trying to get in.
So while we're walking across the open area before we actually get to the keep itself, Ari catches a glimpse of this body that's lying just outside of one of the outbuildings that are right there. And its head moves and looks at her, and immediately she grabs out one of her weapons and it goes into a battle stance. And that's when the head continues to move a little bit, the mouth opening, closing, and a rat scurries out.
Yeah, in addition to that, Ari, in this courtyard between where the gates are shut and barred and where the front steps of the keep are, you can see amongst these outbuildings that there's a lot of tables that have been set up here, and it looks like food and medicine was being administered at some point. And there's not as many bodies here as you might expect to see. It looks like this might have been abandoned before whatever started outside, long before. But please continue, everyone. Anybody else?
I think for Sir John, it's not so much the things that he sees, it's just all the smell. Through all these tragic moments and all of this awful scene, it's just, even before we saw any of it, we smelled it. And we smelled it out in the town, but here it's concentrated and everything. And I think he's got Lady Laudine's kerchief sort of like up at his nose the whole time, trying to breathe that as he walks through.
I think there is like a single kind of sheathed sword leaned up against one of the walls, kind of just within this courtyard area of like some guard that was standing here when at one moment the hype was kind of, crescendoing, and this sword will remain here until someone moves it. But it shan't be toward.
I think the thing that digs to Eddard really is a multitude of the things that they've been seeing as they walk through first the town and then into the courtyard. You said that it looked like there were tables for supplies set up, and there are less bodies here, and the portcullis is closed and the door is closed, and there's mounds of bodies outside. It just ignites this like rage in Eddard as he kind of starts to put two and two together, figures out, exactly what he believes happened with the nobility, and what eventually became the ruins of this city. Not that he knows that he could have done anything better, but he certainly would not have run from a challenge. He just gets heated. Anybody who looks at him can see it. And I mean, it's not a look that he carries a lot. He's not an angry type of person.
And it's with this well-placed rage kind of beginning to broil as all of the parts and the pieces are starting to coalesce, Eddard, that you lead this group of people into the the final wing of where these apartments to be located. Throughout the keep, you've seen probably a total of 2 to 3 dozen bodies. Obviously, they are not stacked or piled the way that they were outside the gates. Here, many of them at least, were treated with some form of dignity. There were, neat stacks that have been placed in a particular small room of the keep somewhere. They have, their bedclothes, kind of draped over them, the sheets from, the bed that they likely perished in. But then you start also noticing that there are other bodies that were the servants that were not treated as well. Many of them sadly died in the corner of a cupboard or a closet somewhere. And again, just these incredibly heart-wrenching moments that are almost frozen in time for you to witness, these private moments of someone's last breaths in this world. And it's a lot to take. But you manage to round into the wing where these apartments are located, and there is a lot more bodies here. There's probably 2 to 3 dozen that are just here in this hallway. As you're kind of looking down, it looks like this was probably where this place succumbed. Where the last bit of this disease swept through here. And Lady Reba she's trembling. right now.
You know, Lady Reba, I don't know much of your family, like I said, but there's any shred of hope that someone made it out alive, your mother, I think, would be that person. So just please try to remain calm as we, yeah. Any kind of the words kind of fail him, but he still takes the point here.
Even if my mother survived, all of these people didn't. This is horrible.
Had you not known what became of Warrington?
No, I saw a few people who were sick, but I had heard that there were people who were dying, and I knew that people were, well, they disappeared or they just never returned. But I've never seen any of this.
Perhaps it wasn't meant for your eyes. Your mother was a smart woman to send you away from here.
Sir Merrick has his hand is been resting on the pommel of his sword and the shield that he kind of usually keeps slung over his back. Ever since you've entered inside, he has his shield on his arm and kind of held up against the front of his body. And he's got like his shoulder touching like the Lady Reba at all times. He doesn't ever leave her side.
Eddard also puts his hand on the hilt of a Faladar, and just for a moment you swear that the stale castle air kind of moves around a little bit of fabric floats in the wind, the tapestries. Come on.
Eddard presses on. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'm not sure exactly how he's going to go about finding her. Not like he remembers what she looks like, but I think he will just kind of go door to door almost in these apartments and, you know, go through seeing all of these just awful scenes until hopefully somebody turns up, or at least somebody that she recognizes.
Yeah, so you kind of move into the common space of these apartments first. You know, the basically like what would amount to like a large fireplace and a lot of seating that you could kind of sit around and have a conversation. There's like a small library that's here, a few selection of books or what have you, maybe a map or something on the wall. And this has been like, the furniture here has been rearranged. There have been tables that have been set up here, and it looks like there was a lot of like paperwork that was being done. There's a lot of chairs that are arranged at these tables and a lot of paper and inkwells that have been set up. And it looks like people were just writing notes begging for help. People were documenting what was going on. There was, you know, ledgers and things like that where they were trying to ration supplies. But everything is kind of tussled. You know, papers are all over the floor. You know, there's maybe even a few stacks of papers that are kind of thrown into the fireplace and are kind of, you know, burnt. And there's quite a few bodies in here as well. Continuing to press on, it's pretty easy to kind of lead yourself to, you know, where you think that she might be. Most of the bodies almost lead you there in kind of a trail. It leads to a door that is currently shut.
Honestly, the way things look now, I don't think Eddard is going to knock at the door. I think he'll probably summon Tord and ask his assistance in busting the door down. If somebody's in here, it's probably locked, but who's in here, and it could be anybody's yet. So, Tord, would you give me a hand?
I would love to.
Okay. Toward you gonna shoulder this door? Are you gonna
Oh,
kick it?
absolutely. I'm definitely going to use some body pressure.
All right. So you kind of, get a several step away, kind of charge at this door, throw yourself bodily into it. Go ahead and roll me an athletics check, please.
We're sitting at a total of 26.
Okay.
Well, I was going to give you an inspiration die, but okay.
The locks on these royal apartments might be great at keeping out the kind of pickpockets that would be able to roam these halls, but they're certainly not strong enough to hold back Tord as he slams into it, and the latch basically snaps, and the door swings open. It's pretty easy to see that there is a couple of bodies in this room. One of them is laid out on the bed beneath the covers, and the other two are, again, kind of sitting on the floor against the wall. Definitely have the look of attendants of some kind. Lady Reba kind of rushes past through the doorway, despite Sir Merrick trying to reach out for her and trying to hold her back. She kind of runs into the room, and she begins sobbing the moment that she spies the body in the bed.
Yeah. So Eddard will also, I guess he'll kind of close with the body. He wants to get a little closer and see what's going on or what had happened.
It's pretty quick, guesswork to see that she died of the plague for sure. She has the telltale kind of sores around her mouth, the signs of bleeding from the gums, the sores and things on her body. It's pretty obvious that she was taken by the disease.
I'm sorry, my lady.
Hey, I suppose that I knew already. A part of me at least did. But I needed to know.
You never know what this world is. Well, let's just say stranger things have happened. Just wasn't your day to day, I guess. I'm sorry.
She kind of moves over to the side of the bed and just kind of stands there looking at her for a while. Sir Merrick kind of moves, halfway between the door and the bed. He kind of turns around and he says, I believe that there was something else that you came here for. Perhaps now would be a good time.
I believe the lady may need a few moments. Would you accompany her?
I think we can stay here for the time being.
Very well. Eddard will excuse himself from the room.
Dane is positioning himself just inside this doorway, keeping a very close eye on Sir Merrick, as well as this young lady, out of sheer terrifying fear that she's going to go over there and try and kiss her mother goodbye or something along those lines, contract this plague, and then give it to us. So, paranoia sort of setting in. There might be a few times where she takes a slight step towards her mother on the bed, and Dane kind of like starts to take that step forward, and realizes, okay, yeah, she's not touching her. We're good for the second.
Okay. So are all of you heading elsewhere with Eddard, or is anyone staying behind here in the apartments?
Ari, I don't believe actually would have even gone into that room.
Okay.
When they broke down the door, would have stayed outside. And so when Eddard comes back out, she is ready and willing to head off with Eddard where he needs to go.
I'm going to head off for the shield as well.
Okay.
I'm not sticking around either.
Okay. And then Dane, are you hanging here in the room with these two, or are you headed for the shield with everybody else?
So initially, I really wanted to stay, right? And I start hearing the receding footsteps of my friends, and I kind of looking on. Look, just don't be sad there. Don't get closer, touch her, stuff.
She kind of turns and looks at you with this. Have you ever seen somebody who's been crying really hard and then they give you that look like, are you really doing this right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. She kind of gives you this look. I have survived this plague thus far. Thank you, Sir Dane, for your concern. No, forgive me. I am overcome with my grief.
So Dane will reach inside of his shirt and he pulls out the whistle that he had gotten for his dog that has since been left on his parents' at the farm. And I'm going to hand it to Sir Merrick. While we're gone, if anything happens, this will probably work better than yelling down the halls.
He kind of looks at it and kind of gives you a nod, and then he puts the chain around his neck.
I'm sorry for what it's worth. I really am. She could have left, but she didn't. But I have to.
You should go.
Yes.
Sir Merrick kind of almost kind of gives permission.
And I. No.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Okay. The five of you head upstairs to oh no, it wouldn't be upstairs. Okay. You head probably downstairs, honestly, to where Eddard knows this the sanctuary is. You kind of push the doors open into this small, consecrated place. It has two stained glass windows that kind of are along the right hand wall, and then a small altar at the back with all of the trappings devoted to the virtuous divinity. This group of 8 of the pantheon of Rostveen who have been deemed appropriate to still worship, while all of the rest of the gods and goddesses have fallen into the umbrella of the old ways, which is very quickly becoming out of fashion is not quite the right term. Persecuted would probably be the better way of putting it. But looking out across this small cathedral, you can see that the pews have been kind of pushed askew a bit, and there's quite a bit of coin scattered across the floor here. You realize some of the golden holy symbols and things that would have normally adorned the altar also look like they might be missing.
Well, let's just hope whoever took the baubles from the church didn't find the shield.
Okay. Press forward into this cathedral towards the back, where the living quarters of the priest who's kind of kept in on retainer, so to speak. And you push open that door. It wasn't latched, it wasn't closed all the way, but you push that open, and you can see the body of the, I guess it would be an abbot or something, asleep in his, well, not asleep, in his bed, where he likely succumbed to this disease. But the door to the vault at the other side of his room is ajar.
Eddard just beelines. Starting to get nervous.
Okay. You head over to the vault door, kind of pull it open, and the other side is a room that's 15 by 20 or so. Has armor racks, weapon racks, shields, or not shields, shelves, things of that nature, kind of built in this space, as well as no small amount of chests. All of the chests look like they have been opened. Not all of the valuables here are missing. There's still a lot of coin that is literally just spilled everywhere in here carelessly. There's pieces of jewelry, there's paintings, things that are certainly valuable, but you're guessing were likely either too big or too cumbersome for somebody to take the time to rob from here. Hanging on the wall at the back of the room is a very kind of out of place looking tapestry. It's not particularly valuable, just by guessing, looking at it. It looks like it was decently made, but this is the kind of thing that would be hung in like a noble's private chambers. It's more like visually pleasing than it would be valuable.
Does it also bear the heraldry of House Warrington?
It does.
My hope would be to think that maybe whoever came in here was too stupid to know what they were looking at, that the shield may look unassuming. It is just a big piece of wood with the house crest on it. So maybe it didn't look very valuable. So Edward will look around for it. Is there any like I don't know, maybe he'll look behind the tapestry.
Okay. Yeah, you're kind of moving, large framed portraits kind of to the side, kind of looking around. And then you have the thought to look behind this tapestry. And as you kind of move over to the wall that it's hanging on and lift it, sure enough, part way up the wall behind this tapestry, there is a place in the stone that is inset. So almost like an opening that you can see in the wall behind the tapestry. And peeling it back a little more, the inset is only 6 inches deep, give or take, and hanging in that centered divot or alcove is a shield, a beautiful kite shield that is made of wood, but it has been covered with steel and is immaculately painted in the livery of House Warrington that you can see kind of above Eli's head over there on the far side of the screen. These two-tone blue kind of diagonal field with 3 smaller shields presented along the line, each of them bearing the visage of a griffin.
So you said it's kind of looking through almost like a hole in the wall.
So like this tapestry hangs on the wall and is 10 foot by 10 foot or something.
Yeah.
And behind it, that wall that it sat on is basically a window shaped alcove that only goes back about 6 inches.
I'm trying to picture.
Mm-hmm. So like
there's been an inset carved into the wall in order to house the shield.
Yep. So that it sits flush with the wall and the tapestry hangs in front of it, hiding it.
Oh, okay. I was under the assumption that this is like a whole other room.
No.
Okay, so the shield is there, right there in front of me.
Yep, it's sitting right there in that alcove.
I'm going to grab it. I'm just grabbing it.
All right. You reach out and grab a hold of this shield. And
surely nothing goes wrong.
Interestingly enough, it's not sunshine and rainbows that greets you.
It's lightning bolts and fireballs.
I wouldn't do that.
And cue Admiral Akbar.
So suddenly there is a great calamity that echoes through the keep as the sound of every single door in the keep shutting and locking happens at once. Instantly, all of you notice that there is fog that is beginning to creep along the floors and is starting to fill the corridors that connect the rooms. And a magic mouth appears on the wall, just beneath the sword. Or the shield, rather. This mouth kind of forms out of the stone and begins saying, "Thief!" in a very loud voice. "Thief!" Begins repeating it every 20 seconds or so. And then you hear the sharp pierce of a whistle. And I think that's where we're going to end our session. So,
I told you guys nothing would go wrong.
Sunshine and rainbows. All of your expectations were exceeded, I'm sure. Fantastic. Thank all of you very much for being willing to walk headlong into what you knew was a trap all along. It's because of that and your excellent role playing that I love playing with you guys. So I'm going to pass things back over to all of you to say whatever you want to say, plug whatever you want to plug, and then I think we're going to call it an evening. We'll go in reverse order. Baron.
Hey everyone, I'm Baron. Nothing really to plug. Happy to be here as usual. I apologize if I wasn't super performative, as I am mid-transition to new job, so that's taking something to get used to. But other than that, it's always a great time being here. I was bummed we couldn't play last month, but mental health is important, and always take care of yourself first. You can't help anyone else. So other than that, love y'all. Love the game. I'll see you next month.
Too true, man. Love you too, brother. Yeah, I feel you. Starting a new job is rough, especially when it has a different schedule than what you're used to. It can take a little while. It's almost like jet lag. But yeah, I appreciate you being here, and as always, bringing both humor and wisdom with Tord. It's always a pleasure to watch you play him. All right, next up, we have Karen. Uh-oh, you're saying something, Baron? You're muted. I can't hear you. You're muted. It was beautiful, though, whatever you were saying. I know it was. I just wish I knew sign language or could read lips. Okay, next, Karen.
Hello, everyone. It was so good to have everyone back again and play this game. So amazing. I love the dynamic between Tord and Sir John. It's it's just awesome. So been missing that. We've been missing that for a while. So that's been great.
It's just guys being dudes.
I know. In the best way possible. I cannot wait for next month to get here and play this again. I don't have too much to say. I really love this group, this game, everything. So one more month.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm really pleased. Having everybody around the table again has been really good. And again, yeah, missing last month was tough. I missed this game. I missed the story that's been going on with these characters, and so it was really, really nice to be able to get back to that tonight. So, all right, next we have Josh.
Well, don't know what there is to say other than I told you guys nothing would happen when I got the shield. Everything is fine. And we're just going to walk out of Warrington like nothing ever happened. No, but seriously, again, I played Eddard Bainton Pendrake. It was a blast, as it always is. I think this is the first time in a couple of sessions where we've had everybody together, which is a really welcome change of pace because I miss you all very dearly. Looking forward to the next one. Not sure when it will be. Hopefully I will be able to make it. And we can see about getting this shield back into the to the face of Wirus, because it's not going into his hands. That's for sure. I'm not giving it to him. But anywho, wonderful game tonight. Love you all very much.
Same, brother. Very much so. Love you guys. And again, a huge congratulations on the addition to the family. Likewise to starting a new job, maybe even more so. Also an adjustment. Always. But in some of the best and some of the worst ways. But I'm really happy for your family, man. Excellent. Yeah, looking forward to getting back to this again next month and seeing just how deep the shit might be. Not that you guys get into shit at all, but you know. All right. Next we have Steve.
So like everybody said, just glad to be back in and playing And thank you, Jeremy, for sending me the script so I could have a speech about Shadow or Fog before all this went down. Worked out perfectly. So,
Mwahaha.
yeah, no, it's great to have everybody, and like it's weird, right? Because there's a month between games, so each time's kind of like going to like a little like family reunion, right? There's just enough time in between that you're like, oh yeah, these are my favorite people, and here they all are. So, glad to have been here. Even though I'm also extremely tired. I think all of us are just getting our butts kicked by the real world right this second. It does that. It does that to you though. But yeah, glad to be here. Looking forward to the next game. And what else can I say, man? Love this.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. You know, when there's a good group that plays well together and understands what everybody's trying to do and is there to be supportive of that, and watch each other's characters excel and shine. It's magical, honestly, to kind of watch it happen. And I love being able to have the chance to do this with all of you, to be able to throw these very serious, very heavy, very dark moments at you, and understanding that you're all going to take that in stride, but then you're also going to make certain that we have these really warming moments of levity that endear these characters and their relationships to us. So that's a very, very special blend, and I'm here for it. So thank you. Last but certainly not least, we have Eli.
Yeah, it's been great to get back together with everybody. There's an extra month for me, and boy, it just, I missed it a lot. So really great to hang out with you all again. And for those of you watching, you can find my stuff at the Mythic Gazetteer on Itch and Drive Through RPG. But I'm tired too. It's a time to be tired. The world is really invested in making every single one of us tired right now. And at least we've got games to give us a little bit of our courage, fealty, and woe in the course of it all.
I would say escape from all of the turmoil and the heavy-heartedness, but well, who are we kidding? It's just a different kind, I think the important thing is that here we get to fight back. And we can fight back really hard, and sometimes we can actually win. And that's the part of it that makes it great. I'm just saying. I said, hey, what did y'all all see? And instead of inserting rainbows and sunshine, all of you took it much deeper, much darker, which, I mean, again, I love it. It's great. It's exactly the flavor that I was hoping to kind of get across with this place. So I'm glad that all of you are here for it. And yeah, I look forward to running this game for you every single time we sit down. So thank you for being those kinds of players and for being those kinds of friends. Honestly, I love all of you. So for anybody who may have been watching this evening, thank you very, very much. I love the fact that me having friends around the table and rolling dice and telling stories and laughing is something that people out there are finding entertaining. That makes my heart very happy. So I'm glad that you're here. If you watched live with us this evening, or you might be watching at some point, it honestly does mean the world to me. If you do like this kind of stuff, do the things that YouTube likes. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, so that way whenever we've got other stuff going on here. But I think that's about it for me. Remember that kindness is a free action. It costs you nothing, and the world needs more of it. So please use your action economy wisely. But until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.